Stacy, my close friend Stacy. Wow, we met almost several years ago now, which is awesome. And it was an unlikely connection because when I met you, we were at a pub through a mutual friend. But we didn't start getting really close until we hung out at another friend's barbecue, and we started talking about things that really mattered to both of us. And,
that's true.
And it's been organic ever since, and I love it. But this podcast today, I wanted to kind of do a reflection of the last 12 months because it's obviously been a different journey.
You've gone through a lot of changes this year.
Yeah.
Can you take me through that? How has it been the last 12 months, the changes?
Well, it's been a roller coaster ride, but overall, I'm loving the roller coaster ride, the ups and downs. I mean, you see me through a lot of emotions, so thank you for supporting me. Yeah, let's start with January, since before that, I made this resolve to actually become an entrepreneur. And then in January, I started the Anderson Career Training Institute program for entrepreneurs, which was incredible.
How did that ACTI program, how did that change you?
Wow. First of all, I knew nothing about being an entrepreneur. So this program really helped me. And the big thing that it helped me with is get me out of my little social hole that I was in, right? So I had a few people actually talking about me and my speaking voice, saying that, you could be a good speaker. And I was considering doing podcasts. Again, I didn't know how to go about doing that. But they actually really got me out of that social hole, I guess you can say, because a lot of, we had to do a 5-minute speech. I was a little nervous, but then I practiced more. And they gave me this opportunity to practice my speaking at one of the networking events. And then from there, that led to me now teaching classes on listening. So thank you, Acti, for that. And because of that, now I'm wanting to do, obviously these podcasts, and I'm planning to do workshops for next year and training and educating people on listening. So that's going to be really important. So yeah, from January to July was my program. I ended up doing, I think it was 3 months of in class. It was virtual, still kind of towards the end of the pandemic. And then we had 3 months of mentorship with another, kind of like a business kind of coach, mentor type thing. And that was really great. And then in March, when things started opening up again, I began networking. So I went to my first networking event, which I was actually a little bit terrified. But once I got in there, I got to go with a few of my classmates from the ACTI class, and that was really, it was like a supportive group of people, these women. You know who you are, so thank you. Yeah, and so I just thought it was great, a great experience for me. I had my business cards and talking to all these people, and so that was really great. And then I don't know if I told you, but I'm part of an organization for listening. It's called the International Listening Association. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I joined and became a member. It was an obvious choice only because I'm in the business of listening. So I am so grateful because they have provided me with, they call it I'm going to call the International Listening Association, the ILA. It's a lot easier to say. So they provided me an ILA buddy, but she's turned out to be more than that. Like she's an incredible woman. I was a little bit nervous at first because she's an academic. She's a professor. So I'll get nervous about, people in academics. It's a different kind of, conversation generally, but I found out she's an empath. So that mixed together was really incredible. And she's just been an incredible support for me and just motivator and, trying to help me meet all these goals, right? So we were planning to do a presentation for the 2023 International Convention, which was to be held in Germany. It still is, actually. They're doing a hybrid, but she's got some life situations happening, and of course, myself too. So we've kind of put that on the back burner. Who knows? Okay. It could still, anything can happen between now and July. So I'm still planning to attend, whether it be in person or virtually. That's my plan. But I did manage to attend the virtual convention this past June. So that was an amazing experience for me because I get to meet a lot of members from all over the world. And through that, I think it was a 2-day convention, I learned a lot about listening. That's the thing with the association is they have a lot of resources. They provide you with people who experience members who've already been there for quite a while. I've actually met some of the founders. Nice. And that organization's been around since the 1970s. Oh, wow. Yeah. So with this last convention, I do want to point out some things that I learned. The biggest thing for me was they talk about status when in listening. So when you're listening to somebody, you're listening to the person and there is no status. So you're basically going down to the level of that person. And I think that's why I love listening in that aspect, is because when you're actually truly listening to somebody, you become equals. And that for me is more important than power, than influence, than status, right? So you take that all away. And then they brought in a gentleman who actually provides listening, the listening service through, I think he has an organization. I can't remember what it was. I'll try to remember to post that. But he did talk about certain individuals that he listened to, and one in particular was a veteran. And he's in his 90s now, and the family was having a difficult time reaching out to him. He became very bitter, obviously, through his experience with World War II and all that he saw. So he had PTSD, but he spent all of his years being quiet, maybe not so social. And so these gentlemen were asked to come in and actually listen to him. And he was able to just tell his stories. And through that, it was like a release for him. And through that, he was able to heal. Nice. So telling his stories made him feel like, okay, I got it off my chest. And his connections with his family, and like he's a different person now, right? Because he was able to finally tell somebody about his story. So that was one person, and another client, not a client, but a person that they listened to. It was actually very touching because they spent time with her. They brought her to I don't know where it was. I think it was there's a place called Hershey in the U.S. And she was not very social, so she never really got to tour around her place, her community. And they spent time with her, took her to I think it was a hotel, and they had a great meal there. And she said that I can't believe you would do this for me. And so these gentlemen said, of course we would, because you matter, right? You're important too, just like anybody else. That's going back to the being equal, right? We are, in the end, we're all humans. That's what it comes down to, right? Exactly. So I really love that. I took that from the convention. Nice. There was another aspect that I took from that convention was the free listening. That's what I did this summer. We'll get into that later. But yeah, this professor actually teaches communications, and she wanted her class to research certain organizations on their listening practices. So I thought, this is very important. So a few students did, for example, Google, Walmart, and I think it was Amazon. Those are the three that I remember the most. And they studied their practices, and they studied not just the customer-based listening practices, but also within the organization. You know, how are the leaders listening to the people that work for them, right? As well as, you know, how is everyone in the company listening to the clients? So that was quite amazing, and that's what I took from that convention. So I'm really looking forward to next year's what subjects they're going to be talking about. Then in May was when I officially launched my business.
Well, and I know and you know sort of how that all went, but how about you share that with everybody else? Tell us how that experience was.
So I came up with this idea, not just to launch my website, but to launch the business in general through a video that I did, and you guys could see it on my YouTube. It was the basically, you know, open for business video, and what I wanted to do was showcase, you know, diversity and inclusion. So I wanted to get, you know, a whole bunch of groups involved in there so that they all know that, you know, listening is, you know, again, going back to the status, there is no status. We're just listening to you to understand. So I did ask a few, you know, certain groups, the LGBTQ, and Black community, Muslim community. I wanted a lot more groups in there, but it was it was a challenge, actually, to get them in a short period of time. And I had one group in particular that, you know, I guess it was through my choice of words that it became a challenge. I was able to find a replacement, but I took it hard. It really hit me hard, only because I never ever want to make people feel like they don't matter. Yeah, excluded or anything like that. So it was hard for me to know that I hurt somebody. And I still to this day kind of, you know, still take that with me, but I've learned to let go. That's an experience I'm learning through this business, is I can't take, you know, all this criticism and all that, you know, seriously. Just learn the lessons, and obviously I learned a lesson through that. So I like to think I've moved on, but you know, and I do have friends who in that group that are supportive of my efforts. So I'm glad about that. Yeah. So then June came, and I'm still tweaking my website a little bit. You know, I just wanted to get it. When I set deadlines for myself, I really just want to get it done, right? And I think those goals are great to have. So after I'd launched my website, my business, I started to tweak the website, little kinks here and there that weren't, you know, technical difficulties that weren't working. And then I decided to start doing the social media marketing. So, you know, I was very hesitant in the beginning to even do a lot of social media. I only had Facebook before this. So I did set up my Facebook business page. Then I set up my Instagram business page, and of course YouTube for the videos and podcasts. And then I decided to get onto Twitter. So yeah, it's a lot of work. It's full-time work doing social media marketing, but you need it, you know, from my time at Acti, is you need that exposure. You need to put yourself out there no matter what. So I'm doing this networking. I'm doing this social media marketing. And then in July, you know, I did that street video, which I'm very proud of. And I will continue to do it every year, because it's to commemorate the International Day of Listening on September 15th. Awesome. I think it's September 15th every year. But no matter what, I plan to go on the streets and listen to people who need to be heard. And as you know, through the videos that I posted, there were some pretty powerful sessions I had there. And I walked away feeling so good that I offered that to people. So we know how badly being heard is so needed. And then August, I ended up doing some more networking. So more networking events through the Edmonton Business Association, the Chamber of Commerce. I'm members of both. And so any events, I started to, you know, do those.
Yeah.
And then in September,
Mm-hmm.
I started to launch my first podcast.
Mm-hmm. So what's the premise for your podcasts in general?
So with my podcast, obviously, I still want it to be wrapped around the idea of listening and listening to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So the guests that I generally bring in are people that I want to hopefully my audience will be inspired by their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, I kind of like, tell your story, tell me of a challenge or an obstacle or some trauma that happened to
Mm-hmm.
you. That would be the negative side. And then the positive side would be, well, how did you overcome it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, too, is, if they have an initiative or a business that they want to, an idea they want to share with my audience, hopefully that'll give them some exposure. So that's the premise of my podcast.
Nice.
And then, of course, my first podcast, I thought it would be good to just tell my story first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. And then, of course, with this one we're doing is kind of like a reflection of this last 12 months, which has been an incredible experience. Yeah. It's
Whirlwind, right?
Yeah. I can't believe 12 months has happened already.
No.
So then the podcast happened, and then October happened, and there was in the middle of October Small Business Week.
Mm-hmm.
And all I kept thinking was, I just got to put myself out there. So I did a few trade shows, done some podcasts, and networking. I probably didn't realize it, but I exhausted myself.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously something happened.
Yeah. As it tends to do when you're full steam ahead, and then all of a sudden something happens and the brakes have to come on.
Yeah. So a few things happened in October besides the Small Business Week of, mental exhaustion. I had a few things that happened that took me, my mental health kind of took a little toll there. I had to step back for sure. I don't want to go too much into it.
For sure.
But I did learn something out of it, obviously. And when I took that step back, I decided, well, what is it that I can control out of this? Mm-hmm. And let me tell you that when I started thinking that way, instead of like, oh my God, I lost control, because that's what it felt like I had done. I did feel like I did lose a little bit of control there. Mm-hmm. But when I took the time, I took the time off social media. I took the time, I told you and the rest of my friends, okay, I got to take a break because I have to figure out, is this something I still want to do? What else can I control? So, but yeah, during that time, magical things started to happen, and I thought, this, I believe in the universe and, all the forces that can help me to get where I want to go. And wow. So yeah, I don't know what happened, but I was, part of October's little situation there was, oh my God, I need social media engagement. So it was like almost, begging. And I was still struggling in that part. But then when I took a step back, literally magic happened. I found a specific, an American entrepreneur on Facebook, and I looked at her social media and her page, and I went, she's doing something right here. What is she doing? She's engaging too. So here I am asking people to engage with me, but I decided I got to continue engaging. I don't need to necessarily engage with, my personal Facebook friends. I found a whole group of entrepreneurs all over the world who are engaging because they know what it needs to happen, what it needs to take to get there. And so within a week, I went from 200 followers to 500 followers. Yeah. I am now I'm over 4,200.
Woohoo!
And this happened in November. That's just over a month.
It's huge.
So what the heck? Something happened there. Do you know what I mean?
The algorithm, you're figuring it out. It's working.
And so the other thing that happened was And like I said, I was still in this hiatus and mentally kind of like, oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also open to whatever would come my way. So I met, and this is the good thing about networking, through the Edmonton Business Association trade show.
Mm-hmm.
I met a lady, her name is Cheryl, and she got me on this program for an intern.
Nice.
And it's government funded, so I don't have to pay. So this kid is helping me with my social media engagement.
So good.
Boom.
So good.
My followers increase. I'm getting, subscribers on YouTube, and, that's helped my Facebook. So I was like, okay, like, wow, right? Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of that, I ended up having, through another networking event over the summer, again, thank you, Edmonton Business Association, Janet, who I met, and she's going to be on my podcast next year. She's part of a Toastmasters group. And
nice.
I knew, back in March or whatever, that if I want to improve my speaking or, education to other people skills, I wanted to, be able to speak eloquently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were having coffee, and she says, I'm part of this Toastmasters. Why don't you come on board? I'm telling you, man, when you want something and you're thinking about it and it's like, you're what? You're part of Toastmasters?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the first meeting, I was like, yeah, these are my people.
Nice.
See, and I'm a little bit nervous. Like there's a list of Toastmasters groups all over the city. But then I'm a little bit nervous to go into one because I'm kind of like, okay, is this group going to fit me? I don't know. But just the fact that, Janet introduced me to this group, and these people they're my people.
Nice.
And I love them. They're incredible. Like I just So I found my Toastmasters group.
Yay.
So these 3 wonderful things happened during my hiatus. And on top of that, getting that, okay, do I really want to be doing this? And in my heart of hearts, it's saying, my gut saying, you were meant to do this. Sorry, I'm going to cry about that.
No, it's okay.
So here I am. Now it's, it's November. I was actually wanting to start up the podcasts again, and I was really looking I wanted to do a podcast for Remembrance Day, but, I struggled to find somebody for that. That's okay. Can happen next year.
Yeah.
But I just decided, whatever will come, and I'm not going to stress over it as much as I used to. That's where I felt like I lost control, but I truly believe now that whatever is coming to me is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So there's my lessons learned.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, and here we are, December.
Yep.
I managed to get, one Christmas podcast out, so thank you, Kimberly, for that. But I had a few challenges with my family, as you know, and it was really hard to work around my family obligations and then trying to do, to work on my business. And it's okay because Christmas is here, and I just wanted to spend time with my family, so that was important. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
Here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Hey.
Yeah.
So with all the changes that you through the last year and everything, what takeaways do you have? What's the greatest learning do you think you've had with all of these changes?
I think especially through the big obstacles and challenges that, because I had days where I've cried. I've had days where I've cried through these challenges, but I've also cried through the opportunities, because those opportunities were like, wow, is this really happening to me? And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, the joy, it was like tears of joy. I'm like, wow, this is really happening.
Yeah.
So that's why I meant this roller coaster ride up and down. I wouldn't have it any other way, because these challenges are only going to make me stronger. Right.
Yeah.
And I think I've told you about that quote that, God says, I'm going to make you happy, but first I'm going to make you strong. Boy, let me tell you, that's this strength, the determination, this resilience that I'm being, these challenges I'm being put through. I'm still here.
Yep, you are.
I'm here because, again, in my heart of hearts, I truly ultimately believe this is what I'm meant to do. And not just because I believed in my gut. I've been teaching classes to entrepreneurs on how to be better listeners.
Yeah.
And the impact that I've seen, these students have their feedback coming to me and say, wow, I walk away through every time I do a class, I walk away going, okay, I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Nice.
Because it's that feeling that I am making a difference. I'm going to cry again. Yeah. The feeling that I'm doing this is my purpose. I mean, it means a lot to me.
Good.
So I know I'm so determined to carry on, and I know that 2023 is going to be even better.
This is going to be your year. Trust me. 2023, here we come.
Yeah. And, my last podcast, Kimberly, she said something that really resonated with me. She says, I feel like if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be passionate about what you're doing in order for it to succeed. I really, truly believe that, I've had people come up to me and go, oh, so tell me about this listening. But I give them the background story. There's a background story to why I'm doing this business. And as I all know, that people have come to me and said, this is needed. This is different from a therapist, a psychologist, or a counselor, or a life coach. This is just listening. That's how I'm helping. I'm just giving you my ear. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not going to judge you. I'm definitely not going to criticize you. You speak your mind, and that's it.
Exactly.
So I believe this is what I'm meant to do, and I'm looking forward to 2023. Thank you, Stacey, for doing this with me.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
My headphone.
Yeah, that's okay. I really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
I'm so proud of you. And
thank you so much.
I can't wait to see how this goes over the next few years. It's going to be going like gangbusters.
Awesome.
I have a feeling.
And I'm taking you on my ride.
Of course.
On the roller coaster.
I know.
Thank you.
Thanks.